Can I clean your car for food? 6 simple words. Hallis, a dirty boy, an arrogant millionaire, I sahats, and an answer that would be pure contempt. But when that boy rolled up his sleeve and revealed an impossible scar, that powerful man's world completely collapsed. Because only one person should have that mark, and that person had been dead for 10 years. Can I clean your car for food? The voice came out weak, almost swallowed by the noise of Fifth Avenue. Manhattan was buzzing on that Christmas Eve. December 24th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. Snow falling hard. Christmas lights shining in the windows of Tiffany, Cartier, Louis Vuitton. And there, in front of Bergdorf Goodman, sat a black Bentley Continental GT, $500,000 gleaming under the festive lights. Thomas Whitmore, 52 years old, CEO of Whitmore Industries, $2.3 billion in fortune, had just stepped out of the store with a $3,000 Hermes tie. A Christmas present for himself, because he had no one else to give presents to. Whirl, impeccable gray hair, Armani suit, Daudasol, Patek Philippe watch Cole. But empty eyes, dead. 10 years ago, a fire had stolen from him. His wife Sarah and his 6-month-old son Ethan dies. Since then, Thomas was a machine. No emotions fain, no love core me. Just money. Sir, please. Thomas glanced over, irritated. Salt. A boy, about 10 years old, torn clothes, face pale from hunger, brown hair covered in snow, shoes with holes. Shivering. Get out of the way, Thomas said with absolute coldness. But the boy followed him. Sir, I can clean your car for food. Just a sandwich. Anything. Thomas stopped abruptly. He turned with eyes full of contempt. You think I'm going to let some dirty kid touch my car? Go find a shelter. Get out of here before I call security! The boy swallowed hard, but there was something in his brown eyes, a determination that didn't match his scrawny body. I don't want charity, sir. I want to work. Thomas let out a cruel laugh. Work? You? Look at yourself, kid. You're filthy. You probably have diseases. You'd make my car even dirtier. Now get out of my way! A few people around looked, shocked. Thomas didn't care. He unlocked the car, opened the door, ready to get in and forget this annoyance. But then, the boy took 2 steps forward. Tears began to roll, and with hands trembling from cold and nervousness, he slowly rolled up the left sleeve of his worn-out shirt. Sir, have you seen this before? Thomas was about to ignore him completely. But something, maybe intuition, maybe the hand of God, made him look. And when his eyes landed on that child's thin forearm, time stopped. There, marked on the pale skin, was a scar, a gone, an old burn, whitish, belly, shaped like an irregular star, 5 centimeters in diameter, each point with a unique design, impossible to replicate. Thomas felt his blood freeze completely. His breathing failed. His heart raced. The hand holding the door began to shake violently, because that scar, he knew that scar. Where did you get that? The voice came out hoarse, broken, unrecognizable. Uagade. The boy slowly lowered his sleeve. Chaps, my mother said it was from a fire. Beaufort jar. When I was a baby, she saved me, but she couldn't save herself. The ground disappeared beneath Thomas's feet. The Christmas lights became blurs. The sounds of Fifth Avenue turned into distant echoes. That scar. There was another exactly like it. On the arm of a son he had lost 10 years ago. A son who had died in a fire along with his mother in Chicago. Ethan Whitmore. 6 months old, Jayesh. Deceased on December 15, 2013. 2 bodies confirmed by firefighters. Burned beyond recognition. Buried. But now, what's your name? Thomas asked, his voice consumed by a desperation he hadn't felt in a decade. The boy hesitated. He wiped the tears with his dirty sleeve. Ethan. Ethan Miller. Ethan Miller. The mother's last name, Arcade. Sarah's last name, Desaurus, felt his legs weaken. He held onto the car door to keep from falling. How old are you? 10, Mevane. I turn 11 in June. The math checked out. Perfectly. Terribly. Impossible. But perfectly. This can't be real. Thomas muttered to himself. You died. I saw the bodies. Isha the Vungals. I buried. Ethan took a step back, scared by the strange reaction of that rich man. Sorry, sir. I didn't mean to scare you. I'll go. He started to turn, but Thomas extended his hand in a desperate gesture. No, don't. Please. Please. Don't leave. Thomas opened his wallet with hands shaking so much he almost dropped everything on the frozen ground. He took out $100 bill. Take this. Buy food. Whatever you need. Ethan looked at the money with suspicion. I said, I don't want charity, Sir Bo. It's not charity. Thomas almost shouted, and then took a deep breath, trying to control himself. Noxus. Please. Just take it. Ethan, hesitant, took the bill and stuffed it into the torn pocket of his pants. Thank you, sir. Wait. Thomas grabbed his thin shoulder. Where do you live? Who takes care of you? The boy lowered his eyes. I stay wherever I can. Sometimes at the shelter on 42nd Street. Sometimes on the street, Cullen Street. You're alone? Completely alone? Yeah. And before Thomas could process any thought, before he could ask any question, Ethan gently pulled away and disappeared into the Fifth Avenue crowd, swallowed by the shadows, by the snow that fell harder and harder, by the hundreds of people rushing to their warm homes. Thomas stood there, Pair Kamastork, still, Dian Hoon, frozen for jaws, in the middle of the most expensive sidewalk in New York. People passed around him, irritated by this man blocking the way. But he didn't move. He couldn't. And then, slowly, as if afraid of what he would find, as if about to confirm something impossible, he rolled up the sleeve of his own left arm. There it was, Main Habers, the same scar, Main Neighbors, the same irregular star, Vein Habers, in the exact same place. The same mark that doctors said was rare, caused by a specific type of burn. The same mark his son had as a baby. Tears began to roll down Thomas Whitmore's face. Tears he hadn't shed in 10 years. Tears he swore never to shed again after he buried his family. People around looked with curiosity at that millionaire crying on the sidewalk. But Thomas didn't care, because, somehow impossible, divine, inexplicable, his son was alive. And he had just let him go, disappear into Christmas night, alone, hungry, homeless. Thomas looked in the direction where Ethan had vanished. The crowd was too thick. There was no sign of the boy anymore. Ethan, he shouted, starting to run. Ethan, come back! But his voice was lost in the noise of the city, in the speakers playing Christmas songs, in the honking of taxis, in the conversations of hundreds of people. He ran 2 blocks, pre-Burklow, Hikertway, 4, looking in every street, every corner, every alley. Nothing. The boy had completely disappeared. Thomas stopped, panting, in the middle of Times Square. Bright lights everywhere. Giant screens advertising Christmas happiness. And there he was, lost, desperate. He had found his son, and he had lost him again. He fell to his knees right there, in the middle of the frozen sidewalk, while tourists took photos around him, oblivious to that man's tragedy. God, he murmured, looking at the dark sky. If this is real, if my son is alive, Please. Give me a second chance. Please." And in that moment, Thomas Whitmore, the cold and arrogant millionaire who had despised a starving boy, understood something that money had never taught him: that the greatest fortune in the world is worth nothing if you lose the only thing that really matters: family. Thomas returned home that night like a ghost. His Tribeca penthouse, valued at $8 million, had never seemed so empty, so cold, so meaningless. He walked straight past the Italian marble kitchen, ignored the living room decorated by an award-winning designer, climbed the mahogany stairs to his bedroom, and there, in the nightstand drawer, was the only thing he kept from the past: a simple wooden box, completely out of place in that luxurious environment. With trembling hands he opened it. Inside were photos, Becerra, photos of a life that no longer existed. Becerra, his love. Wavy brown hair, a smile that lit up any room, green eyes full of kindness. They had met in college. She studied nursing, he studied business administration. She came from a simple family in Brooklyn, he from a wealthy family in Connecticut. Thomas's parents had hated the relationship. "She just wants your money," they said. But Thomas didn't care. He married her at 24, against everyone's wishes, and they were the 5 happiest years of his life. Sarah didn't care about money. She worked as a nurse even after Thomas started making millions. "I need to help people," she would say. "Money doesn't make me happy. Making a difference does." And then came Ethan. Burris. Thomas picked up the baby's photo. 6 months old. Brown eyes. Just like his mother's good. A tuft of dark hair. And there, clearly visible in the photo, the star-shaped scar on his little left arm. It had happened when Ethan was only 2 months old. A silly household accident. Sarah was making tea. Got distracted for a second. The cup fell. The boiling liquid splashed on the baby. The burn was serious. It left that permanent mark. Doctors said the irregular shape was unique, caused by the combination of temperature, angle, and skin type. "Our son will have a special mark," Sarah had said, kissing the baby's bandaged arm. "He'll be unique." 3 months later, on December 15, 2013, Thomas's life ended. He was in Chicago for a business meeting. Sarah had come to visit him with Ethan Mullen. They stayed at a hotel near the office. 2:37 a.m. The fire alarm went off. It started in the hotel's industrial kitchen. Electrical failure. The flames spread with brutal speed. Thomas was on another floor, in a separate suite. He managed to get out. He ran desperately to the room where Sarah and Ethan were peedy. But the firefighters stopped him. "It's too late. The entire hallway is on fire. Wet. No one survives." He tried to force his way through. It took 3 firefighters to hold him back. He screamed until his voice was completely gone. And he watched the building burn. When the flames were finally controlled, they found 2 bodies in room 847. Mother and baby. Burned beyond recognition. Identification was made by location, by personal items found, by Sarah's wedding ring that survived the fire. Thomas buried 2 closed coffins. And he died along with them. In the 10 years that followed, he transformed into another person. He cut ties with anything that reminded him of happiness. He threw himself into work with a sick obsession. He built a billion-dollar empire, but lost his humanity in the process. He became known as the coldest CEO in New York. He fired without hesitation. He closed brutal deals. He had no friends, only business contacts. And now, Thomas looked again at the photo of baby Ethan. He mentally compared it to the face of the boy he had seen on 5th Avenue. The eyes Deckel, the same brown eyes, the shape of the face Gar, shape of the face Deckel, identical to Sarah's Ba. Impossible to fake, Gotzias, Ida si alishin his dollars. How, Lishin, he whispered to the photo, how can you be alive? On the other side of the city, at the 42nd Street shelter, Ethan Miller curled up on a thin bed, sharing a cramped room with 15 other boys. The shelter only allowed them to stay for 3 consecutive nights. Then they had to leave, make room for others. Ethan already knew the routine. 3 nights here, 2 on the street, 3 nights back. It had been like this for 2 years, since he turned 8 and became too old for the orphanage. He held the $100 the strange man had given him. $100. $100 barfany. It was more money than he had seen together in months. He could buy food for a week. He could buy a new coat. He could even rent a cheap room for a few nights. But something about that encounter disturbed him. The way the man had looked at his scar, as if he had seen a ghost. The desperation in his voice. The way he had trembled. And those words, "You died." I saw the bodies. Ethan didn't understand. Who did that man think he was? He touched the scar on his left arm. He'd had it for as long as he could remember. His adoptive mother, Martha, said it came from a fire when he was a baby. Martha Miller. The only mother Ethan had ever known. She had worked as a cleaning lady at a hotel in Chicago. On the night of the 2013 fire, she was on the early morning shift. When the fire started, instead of running away, Martha went up. She saved 5 people trapped in the hallways. And in room 847, she found a baby crying alone in the bathroom. The baby's mother had placed the child in the bathtub, wet towels to protect him from the smoke, and then passed out trying to reach the hallway to call for help. Martha grabbed the baby and jumped through the window onto the firefighters. Tarp. She saved Ethan's life. But when they tried to identify the baby's family, there was confusion, the chaos of the evacuation, the burned records, the misidentification of bodies. They declared that mother and baby from room 847 had died. No one looked for a survivor. And Martha, an illegal immigrant without documents, afraid of being deported if she asked too many questions, simply kept the baby. She raised Ethan as her son, gave him her last name, loved him with everything she had a baby. For 7 years they were happy. They lived in a tiny apartment in Queens. Martha worked 3 jobs. Ethan went to public school. They didn't have much, but they had each other. Until Martha got sick. 3 jobs. Lung cancer, 3 jobs. Aggressive jobs, 3 months from diagnosis to death. Ethan was 8 years old when she died in his arms, in the public hospital, holding his hand until her last breath. "You are special," were her last words. "You survived fire, you'll survive anything. Be strong, my boy." Without proper documents, without known family, Ethan fell through the cracks of the system. He went through 2 orphanages, 3 foster homes, all overcrowded, all temporary. When he turned 10, he simply gave up on the system. He ran away. He preferred the street to constant uncertainty. He learned to survive. He asked for food at restaurants. He slept in shelters when he could get a spot. He collected cans to sell. He did small jobs when someone took pity. But he never stole Becky, never lied. He maintained the dignity Martha had taught him. "No matter how hard it gets," she used to say, "Hin, keep your honor. It's the only thing no one can take from you." And now, lying on that hard shelter bed, Ethan thought about the rich man who had almost cried when he saw his scar. There was something in those blue eyes, some deep pain that Ethan recognized. It was the same pain he saw in the mirror, the pain of someone who had lost everything. "Heraz. Who were you?" Ethan whispered in the darkness. "And why did you look at me like you knew me?" He closed his eyes, clutching the $100 to his chest. He didn't know that the same question was tormenting Thomas Whitmore miles away. 2 men, father and son, separated by tragedy, reunited by a miracle, but still unaware of the truth that would change everything. and Christmas was coming. The season of miracles, but also the season that marked the worst pain for both of them. For Thomas, it was the 10-year anniversary of his family's death. For Ethan, it was the second Christmas without Martha, without anyone. Neither of them imagined that this Christmas would be different from all the others. That God was about to do the impossible, reunite what was separated, heal what was broken, and prove that real miracles don't just happen in Christmas movies. They happen when we least expect them. Hevetel chibs hol chibs hol chibs hol chibs hol chibs hol chibs hol. To those who need them most, Bel chibs hol chibs hol chibs hol chibs hol chibs hol chibs. Febs hol chibs hol chibs hol chibs hol chibs hol. Pima chibs hol 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 chibs. At 5 a.m. on December 25th, Christmas Day, he was standing in front of the 42nd Street shelter. The building was old, the walls peeling, the metal door rusted. A line of people was already forming on the sidewalk. Men, women, some children, Tiv Samif, all waiting for the free breakfast the shelter served on Christmas mornings. Thomas, in his $5,000 cashmere overcoat, stood out like a beacon in the middle of that misery. He searched for Ethan in every face. Every child that passed made his heart race. But none of them was him. At 7 a.m., when the doors opened, Thomas entered along with the crowd. "Sir, you're in the wrong line," a volunteer said gently. "This is for people who need—" "I'm looking for someone," Thomas interrupted. "A 10-year-old boy. Brown hair, brown eyes, sir, thin gaze. He told me he stays here sometimes." "Damn, my boy." The volunteer, a black man in his 60s named Marcus, studied Thomas cautiously. "Bushas Krekas. Many boys come through here, sir. I can't give out information about our guests. Please," Thomas said, and there was real desperation in his voice. "His name is Ethan, Priam P.A. Ethan Miller, P.A. I need to find him." "Are you a relative?" Thomas hesitated. "How to explain? I think he's my son who died 10 years ago. I'm Whitmore, a friend. Two, I want to help him. Pression Palagoshan 100. Marcus crossed his arms. "Look, sir. Every day rich people show up here, saying they want to help. Half want to take photos to post on Instagram. The other half have ulterior motives. These children have suffered enough. I don't want to hurt him," Thomas said, his voice breaking. Juria, I need to know if he's okay, Jussing, if he's safe." Something in Thomas's tone must have touched Marcus, because he sighed. "Ethan Miller. Check and K. Yes, he stayed here. Good kid. Polite, never causes trouble, but he left yesterday morning. Completed his 3 allowed nights. 3 nights. Shelter rule. No one can stay more than 3 consecutive nights. We have to rotate to give everyone a chance." "So where is he now?" Marcus shrugged. "Goal. In fact, on the street. Lusistus, at another shelter. Goal. We don't know. Lusistus come and go." Thomas felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. "But it's Christmas. It's snowing outside. He can't be on the street." "Sir," Marcus said sadly, "there are hundreds of children on the streets of New York today. Christmas doesn't change that." Thomas stumbled out of the shelter. He looked at the snow-covered streets, millions of people in this city, how to find a boy who didn't want to be found. He grabbed his phone and called someone he hadn't spoken to in months. "Dad?" Jessica's surprised voice answered. "It's Christmas. Why are you calling me?" Jessica Whitmore, 25 years old. Daughter from Thomas's first marriage, before Sarah. They had a distant, cold relationship, full of resentments. "I need your help," Thomas said bluntly. "My help? Since when do you need anyone?" "Jessica, please, daughter 5 years old. I don't have time to argue. I need you to use your contacts in social services. Daughter 5, I need to find a child." There was silence on the other end. "Base old." What child? Besold. A 10-year-old boy. Besold. Ethan Miller. Besold Goas. He's in the system, or was Lolim. He might be in some shelter, orphanage, foster home. Dad, you know I can't access private records without— I know, Thomas exploded. But you know people who can. Please, Jessica. It's urgent. Why is this boy so important? Thomas closed his eyes. Because I think he might be your brother. Absolute silence. My brother died 10 years ago, Dad. I was at the funeral. I know what it sounds like. But, Jessica, I saw a scar. The same scar Ethan had. Actel Hertron. Exactly the same. Same shape, same place. This isn't a coincidence. Kid. Dad, do you hear what you're saying? You want me to believe that a baby who died in a fire is alive and living on the streets of New York? I know it sounds crazy. But what if it's not? What if there's a chance, the slightest chance that my son is alive? I can't ignore this. Jessica sighed deeply. You need therapy, Dad. This is denial, it's— Jessica, Thomas shouted. Pesos. I've never asked you for anything. Never. Buchel, I'm asking now. Help me find this boy. If I'm wrong, I'll accept it. Isus. I'll get help. Pesos. But I need to be sure. More silence. Then, okay, I'll make some calls. But Dad, don't get your hopes up. The chances of it really being Ethan are— I know. Thank you, daughter. Thomas hung up and continued walking through the streets. He checked every alley, every stairwell, every place where a street child could hide from the cold. Nothing. Meanwhile, just 6 blocks away, Ethan was waking up under an awning. He hadn't gotten a spot at any shelter the night before. All full because of Christmas. He spent the night curled up between cardboard boxes, using newspaper as a blanket. His fingers were purple from cold. His body shook uncontrollably. But he had survived, as he always survived Coriolis. He got up, put the $100 in the safest inner pocket of his jacket, and started walking. Heskin. He needed to move to warm his body. The streets were empty. Christmas Day. People were home with their families. Ethan felt loneliness tighten his chest. Martha used to make Christmas special, even without money. She'd buy a small chicken, make mashed potatoes, they'd watch Christmas movies on the old TV. Merry Christmas to me, he murmured, wiping away a tear that insisted on falling. That's when he saw the restaurant. It was one of those expensive places on Madison Avenue. And there was a man in front, a chef in a white apron, putting food in bags. Hey kid, bye, the chef called Sambera. Come here. Ethan approached cautiously. I have leftovers from yesterday's dinner. Was gonna throw them away, but if you want— The chef handed him a full bag. Ethan peeked inside. Turkey, mashed potatoes, vegetables, even a slice of pie. Really? Ethan asked, incredulous. Christmas Day, kid. Nobody should go hungry. But hey, the chef held his shoulder. You shouldn't be on the street. Do you have family? Someone who takes care of you? Ethan lowered his eyes. No, sir. Damn, the chef sighed. Listen, there's a shelter on 42nd Street that— I already know it. No room today. The chef looked genuinely concerned. Are you going to be okay? It's going to snow again tonight. I'll manage, Guas. I always do. Ethan grabbed the bag and left before the man could ask more questions. Too much kindness made him uncomfortable. It reminded him of what he no longer had. He found a bench in a small park and sat down to eat. The food was cold, but it was the best meal he'd had in weeks. As he ate, he thought about the rich man from yesterday, about his eyes, about the desperation his array. You died. The words echoed in Ethan's mind. He touched the scar again. Martha had never told him many details about the night of the fire. She only said she had saved him, that his biological mother had died trying to protect him. But what if there was more to the story? What if that man knew something Ethan didn't? He shook his head. It didn't matter. That man was rich, powerful, lived in a completely different world. They would never cross paths again. But he was wrong. Gova. Because at that exact moment, Thomas was receiving a call from Jessica. "Dad, I found something." Gova. Ethan Miller, 10 years old, entered the system at 8 after his adoptive mother Martha Miller died. Gavine went through several temporary homes, Apasico. Ran away 6 months ago. Last known address, 42nd Street Shelter. Adoptive mother? Thomas repeated, his heart racing. That's what it says here. Martha Miller informally adopted him when he was a baby. There's no official birth record for the boy. It's like he didn't exist before age 8. Doesn't that seem strange to you? It does. But Dad, this doesn't prove anything. It could just be an informal adoption by an undocumented immigrant. It happens a lot. Or, Thomas said slowly, it could be a woman who saved a baby from a fire and didn't know how to return him without getting in trouble. Dad, I need to talk to this boy. I need a DNA test. And how are you going to convince him to take the test? He's a missing minor. He doesn't trust adults. And frankly, what street kid would believe the crazy story that he's a billionaire's son? Thomas had no answer, but he knew one thing. He wasn't going to give up, not when he had a chance, however small, to get his son back. Keep looking for information, he said. Anything about Martha Miller, about the fire, about the baby she saved. Okay, but Dad, please, prepare yourself for the possibility of being wrong. Thomas hung up and looked at New York's gray sky. I'm not wrong, he whispered. I know I'm not. And somewhere in this giant city, father and son were breathing the same cold Christmas air. Separated by only a few blocks. But still separated by a truth that neither of them knew completely, achave. A truth that, when revealed, would change everything was Ramayan Summer Rocks. Forever Mayan Summer Rocks. 3 days passed. Thomas scoured every shelter, every assistance organization, every place where street children could be. Why? He offered money, made promises, begged for information. Why? Nothing. Ethan Miller had simply disappeared. On the night of the 3rd day, Thomas was sitting in his office, surrounded by papers, nothing. Reports from private detectives he had hired, security camera footage, social services records. Jessica entered without knocking. Dad, you've been 72 hours without sleep. This needs to stop. It doesn't stop until I find him. Look at yourself, Jessica pointed. You don't eat, don't sleep, don't work. You're obsessed. He's my son. You don't know that. Jessica shouted back. All you have is a similar scar and desperate hope. That's not proof of anything. Thomas stood up, his eyes red from exhaustion and emotion. I looked into his eyes, Jessica. And I saw Sarah, Mintel. I saw my son. It's not just the scar. It's everything. The way he talks, how he moves, even the way he tilts his head when he's thinking hueltied. Or, you're seeing what you want to see, because you can't accept that they're gone. The truth in Jessica's words cut deep. You think I want to feel this? Thomas said, his voice breaking. You think it's easy to have hope after 10 years? Every second that passes without finding him is torture. But I can't give up. I can't. Jessica sighed, sitting down. Dad, I understand. But have you thought that, even if it is him, even if by some miracle Ethan is alive, he won't believe you? He doesn't know you. To him, you're just a rich stranger. Then I'll make him believe Yurda. I'll show him the DNA test, tell him the story, bring proof Dina. What if he doesn't want? What if he's happy where he is, the way he is? Thomas looked out the window at the illuminated city. He's on the streets, Jessica. Hungry, cold, polar, contakeas. Alone Bali. How can he be happy? What if Yurda, happy maybe not? Aki. But free. Have you thought about that? that maybe he prefers the freedom of the street to the uncertainty of the system, to the possibility of one more disappointment. Thomas had no answer. His phone rang. Gotcha. It was one of the detectives. Detectives. Mr. Thomas. Whitmore, we have something. Gotcha. Thomas put it on speakerphone. Talk Will, security cameras caught a boy matching the description on 8th Avenue, near Port Authority. 3 hours ago. Send me the location. Come, I'm going now. Sir, it's almost 11 p.m. That area is dangerous after dark. I don't care. Thomas hung up, grabbed his coat. Dad, don't go alone, Jessica said, standing up. You don't have to come. I know he James, but I'm coming anyway. Devon Mia 8th Avenue at night was a different world. Prostitutes on corners, dealers in alleys, homeless people in every building entrance. Thomas and Jessica walked slowly, searching in every shadow. This is crazy, Jessica murmured. There, Thomas pointed. There was a group of children near a trash can with fire. Was quasi 7 or 8 Gia, all dirty, thin, with torn clothes. Thomas approached carefully. Hey, sorry to bother you. I'm looking for someone, going one. A boy named Ethan, going 1-1. Brown hair, brown eyes, has a scar on his arm. The children looked at each other suspiciously. A girl about 12 years old stepped forward. Why do you want to know? Going 1. The Chovris, Pestahin. I need to talk to him. It's important. Is he in trouble? Going 1. Going 1-1. No, nothing like that. I just want to help. The girl laughed bitterly. Every adult says that. Going 1. I want to help. And then we disappear into the system and never come back. It's not like that, Thomas said. I promise. I don't want to hurt him. Your promises mean nothing to us. Jessica approached, kneeling to be at the children's height. Listen, I understand the distrust. You don't know us. But this man, she pointed to Thomas, believes Ethan might be his son that he lost a long time ago. He just wants to know if it's true. The girl studied Jessica, then Thomas. Lost son? Like in a movie? Like in real life? Jessica said gently. Sometimes impossible things happen. Vugdi. A younger boy approached Sirkan. I know Ethan, Vugdi. He shares food with me sometimes, Vugdi. Thomas felt his heart race. Do you know where he is? Nurizafukai. He doesn't stay in one place. Nurizafukai. Akai natif. Moves around a lot. Mirizafukai. But he usually shows up at Grand Central Station early in the morning. There's a woman who sells coffee there and always gives him one for free. Grand Central, Thomas repeated. Thank you, Vimene. Thank you so much. He took out his wallet and gave $100 to each child. Buy food. And if you see Ethan, can you tell him that someone is looking for him? Someone who cares? The girl took the money, but her look remained skeptical. I'll tell him, but I can't guarantee he'll care. Ethan doesn't trust anyone. Not even other street kids. Why? She'll care. Because everyone he loved disappeared or died. He learned that trusting only brings pain. The words hit Thomas like punches. They left in silence. In the car, Jessica finally spoke. Did you hear what she said? Ethan doesn't trust anyone. Even if you find him, how will you convince him? Ma, I don't know, Thomas admitted, but I'll try. I'll keep trying until I succeed. Jessica looked at her father with a mixture of concern and, for the first time in years, respect. You really have changed. The father I knew wouldn't fight this hard for anyone. Losing everything changes a person, and the possibility of getting something back, that changes you even more. That same night, in a dark corner of Grand Central Station, Ethan was awake. He couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the rich man, Jupatoxin, about his words, you died, He pulled the jacket he used as a pillow and found something in the inner pocket. A piece of old paper, folded several times. Hypiafiabisation, hycoagul, icosmea, bacaphiafiafiafiavasation. It was a letter, the last letter Martha had written before dying, the Cul de Jacavija bucket. Ethan read it every night, even though he already knew every word by heart. My dear Ethan, if you're reading this, it means I've already left. Don't cry for me, my boy. I lived a good life and you were my greatest joy. I need to tell you the truth about that night. The night of the fire. When I found you, you were alone in the bathroom of room 847. Your mother had protected you with wet towels. She died trying to get help. I tried to find out who your parents were. But the chaos was too great. The records were lost. And I, afraid of losing you, of being deported, did something wrong. I kept you Hawawake. I know I should have looked for your family. But I loved you from the first moment. And I was selfish, diabarai, of being deported. If someday someone comes looking for you, someone who seems to know you, don't ignore them. It could be your real family. You deserve to know where you came from, who you really are. Ugolis, forgive me, my son, free before Thali, for keeping this secret, for not being braver. I love you forever, Martha. Ethan folded the letter carefully, tears streaming silently. Martha knew. She knew he had a family somewhere. And that man, with his reaction to seeing the scar, with his strange words, could it be possible? Ethan shook his head. No. It was crazy. Coincidence. But a small part of him, the part that was still a child, that still believed in happy endings, whispered, what if it's not? What if it's real? What if you're not alone? He curled up more in the dark corner, holding the letter against his chest. Tomorrow morning, he'd go to the coffee shop like always. And if that man showed up, maybe, just maybe, he'd have the courage to listen to what he had to say. And on the other side of the city, Thomas wasn't sleeping, staring at the ceiling, praying to a God he hadn't believed in for 10 years. Heather, please, Agami, just one more chance. Just let me see him again. 2 broken hearts, just one. Separated by miles and by a decade of pain. But the distance was shrinking, and tomorrow, at Grand Central, their destinies would cross again, and this time they wouldn't let each other slip away. Thomas arrived at Grand Central at 5:30 a.m. The station was almost empty. Just a few night shift workers and homeless people sleeping in corners. He found the coffee shop. A Latina woman in her 50s was cleaning the counter. Excuse me, Thomas approached. Do you know a boy named Ethan? Brown hair, thin, usually comes here in the morning? The woman studied him with suspicion. Who's asking? My name is Thomas Whitmore. I need to talk to him. The boy doesn't want to talk to anyone. Leave him alone. Please, it's urgent. It's about his family. The woman stopped cleaning. Ethan doesn't have family. He's alone in the world. No, he might have led but bis. I think, Goldabram. I think he's my son. The woman dropped her cloth, her eyes wide. Your son? The boy didn't say anything about. He doesn't know, Thomas interrupted. He was separated when he was a baby. Haw in a fire. Please, just let me know when he arrives. I just want to talk. The woman hesitated, then nodded. He usually shows up between 6 and 6:30. But sir, if you hurt this boy, you'll have to answer to me. Understood? Ha. Understood. Ha. Thank you. Thomas sat at a table with a view of the entrance. He ordered a coffee he didn't touch. He just waited. Jill. Mimi. B. Vimy. He. 6:15, 6:27. And then he appeared. B. Ethan entered through the side door. Hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched against the cold. He looked around cautiously before approaching the counter. Good morning, Rosa, he said with a tired smile. Good morning, Mijo, the woman replied, already preparing a hot chocolate. I have something for you today. fresh cheese bread. Rosa, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Ethan took the chocolate and the bread, but before he could leave, Rosa held his hand. There's someone here wanting to talk to you. Ethan froze before he could leave. Who? Rosa pointed to Thomas before he could leave. Ethan turned slowly. His eyes met Thomas's leave. For 5 seconds, neither of them moved. Then Ethan turned to leave. Wait! Thomas stood up, almost knocking over the table. Please, Waze. Just 5 minutes. Waze. That's all. And Ethan stopped, but didn't turn around. I have nothing to say to you, sir. I know. But I have things to say to you, I'll go. Important things, Mott. Like what? That I should get off the street? Go to a shelter? Go back into the system? I've heard that 1,000 times. No, Thomas said, walking slowly toward him. About who you really are. Ethan finally turned, his eyes suspicious. Who I am? I know who I am. No. Do you? Do you really? Thomas took a deep breath. Do you know why you have that scar on your arm? Ethan instinctively covered his left arm with his hand. It was from a fire. When I was a baby. In Chicago. December 2013. Ambassador Hotel. Room 847. The color drained from Ethan's face. How do you know that? Because I was there, Thomas said, his voice shaking. Because my wife and my 6-month-old son were in that room. Because I spent 10 years believing they died in that fire. Ethan took a step back. You're crazy. My mother died in that fire. But I was saved by another woman. By Martha, a biller. I know. Martha Miller, biller. She saved you. But Ethan, Thomas, took a photo from his pocket. This was my wife. Sarah Whitmore, biller. He extended the photo with a trembling hand. Biller. Ethan looked. Biller. And his eyes widened. The woman in the photo had wavy brown hair, green eyes, and a smile that, I know this face, Ethan whispered. I dream about it, always have. A woman with brown hair, holding me, Sarah. Singing to me. Thomas felt tears fall. That was your mother in Mustahaw, Sarah Case. She loved you more than anything. No. Ethan shook his head, backing up more. This doesn't make sense. They told me my mother died, that my father died, that I had no one. There was a mistake, Thomas said desperately. The firefighters misidentified 2 bodies. They thought you had died with your mother. But Martha saved you, got you out of there. And the system failed. You're making this up, Ethan said, but his voice was uncertain. Why? What for? Thomas took out another photo, this time, of a baby Kem Soto. 6 months old, with a star-shaped scar on his left arm. This is Ethan Whitmore, my son. Born in June 2013. Lost in December 2013. And I look at you and I see him, born Terry his own Terry his gore. I see Sarah Dax, I see my family. Ethan held the photo with trembling hands. Ethan Whitmore, he repeated, but I'm Ethan Miller. Miller was Sarah's maiden name. Your mother. Martha must have used that name when she registered you. Ethan's mind was in turmoil. Fragmented memories. The face in his dreams, Martha's letter saying he had a family. The scar he always thought was strange. I need proof, he said finally. All this could be coincidence. DNA test, Thomas said immediately. We do a test. If I'm wrong, I'll leave and never bother you again. But if I'm right, Ethan, if I'm right, you're not alone. You have a father, Koros. You have a sister. You have a family, hundra toros. Family Kate, the word Ethan, most desired in the world, and most feared. And if it's positive? Ethan asked, his voice breaking. If you really are my father, what happens after, Tors? After I take you home. I give you everything I should have given you 10 years ago. Food, shelter, education. Love. Love. Ethan laughed bitterly. You don't even know me. But I want to. God, how I want to. Thomas took another step. I know it seems insane. I know you have every reason not to trust me. But Ethan, look at me. Look in my eyes and tell me you don't feel anything. No connection, Lace. Ethan looked Exim in his life, and for the first time in his life he saw something he had never seen before. He saw a desperate man, not from arrogance or power, but from love, the billibus. From hope, Iola. From a second chance, Macha Leifer. He saw in Thomas's blue eyes the same pain he carried, the pain of being alone. He saw in Talax. One test, Ethan said finally. Ison Talax. I'll do one test, Ison Talax. But if it's negative, you leave me alone. Ison Talax. Forever, Ison Talax. Yes, I promise. And if it's positive, we talks. No promises, no guarantees, just talks. Thomas wanted to scream, yes, that he'd do anything. But he controlled himself. The 2 box. Okay, no pressure. Can a face. At your pace. Ethan nodded. How do we do this? I have a private doctor. We can go now. Can a face takes 10 minutes to collect. Results come in 24 hours. 24 hours, Ethan repeated. And during those 24 hours, you stay wherever you want. I won't force you into anything. But Thomas took out a hotel card. I reserved a room at the Hilton nearby. It's paid for a week. You can stay there, Editha. Take a hot shower, eat, sleep in a real bed. No strings attached. Ethan looked at the card. The part of him screamed not to accept Tave Hoop. Not to create hope, but the bigger part, the part tired of sleeping in the cold, of going hungry, of always being alert. That part wanted to believe that miracles were possible. Okay, he said, taking the card, but only until the results come out. Thomas smiled through his tears. Thank you means. You don't know how much this means. I really don't, Ethan said honestly, but I think I'm going to find out. They left the station together. Father and son. Still strangers, still with an abyss of pain and time between them. But for the first time in 10 years, together. And Rosa, from the coffee shop, watched from the window with tears in her eyes. May God bless you both, she whispered. May God bless. Because she knew, as all who have suffered know, that miracles don't happen without pain. But when they do, they're worth every tear shed, every night of loneliness, every moment of despair. Because in the end, love always finds a way. Dr. Harrison's private clinic was in a discreet building on Park Avenue. Thomas and Ethan entered in silence. The receptionist didn't even blink when she saw a street kid accompanied by a billionaire. She was used to the doctor's varied clientele. Mr. Whitmore, drive. Harrison is expecting you, she said with a professional smile. The office was huge. White walls, state-of-the-art equipment, leather sofas. Dr. Harrison, a black man in his 60s with gray hair, greeted Thomas with a handshake. Thomas, it's been a while. Then he looked at Ethan kindly. And you must be Ethan. Ethan just nodded, uncomfortable. The test you requested is simple, drive. Harrison explained. I collect a saliva sample from each of you, Send it to the lab. Results in 24 hours, as promised. Is it safe? Ethan asked quietly. Completely. No pain, no blood. Just a swab on the cheek. And is it reliable? Lack 99.9% accuracy. Drive, Harrison said. If there's a paternal relationship, we'll know with absolute certainty. Ethan looked at Thomas, who just nodded encouragingly. Okay, Ethan said, Des. Let's do it, Des. The process took less than 5 minutes. Des. 2 swabs. Des. Dentis was 2 test tubes. Des. A label on each. Done, Drive, Harrison said. Now we just wait. I'll call tomorrow at this same time with the results. Thomas shook the doctor's hand. Thank you, Harrison, for doing this so quickly. For you, always. Then he bent down to Ethan's height. Kid, regardless of the result, you're brave for being here. This isn't easy. Ethan didn't know what to say, so he just nodded his thanks. They left the clinic to New York's cold. It was almost 8 a.m. now. Ethan now. What now? Ethan asked. Thomas wanted to say, now you come home with me. He wanted to hold the boy and never let go. But he controlled himself. Now, I take you to the hotel. You rest, take a shower, eat, boy. And I go back home. You're not staying? The question caught Thomas by surprise. Do you want me to stay? Ethan shrugged, embarrassed. I don't know. It's weird to be alone waiting. But it's also weird to be with a stranger. Thomas smiled sadly. I understand. How about this? I take you to the hotel, you get settled, and then we have lunch together. No pressure. Just talking. Ethan thought for a moment. Okay. But can I bring someone? Ehis. When you bring someone? Ehis. There's a girl Jawarba good. Lily Seamance. She lives on the street too. She's my friend, Ifriend. I wanted her to eat properly at least once. Thomas felt his heart tighten. Even in the middle of all this, Ethan was thinking of others. The Kalanchi. Of course one. Bring whoever you want. The hotel room was luxurious. King-size bed, marble bathroom, city view. Anifon. Ethan stopped at the door, almost afraid to enter. I've never stayed in a place like this, he admitted. It's yours now. For at least a week. Ethan entered slowly, touching everything with reverence. The soft bed. The fluffy towels. The remote control for the huge TV. There's room service, Thomas explained. You can order any food. It's all paid for. Gid. Any food? Gid. Any. Ethan's eyes sparkled, but then he remembered something. Kebe. What if the test is negative? Will you want the money back? The question broke Thomas's heart. No, Ethan. This is a gift. No matter the result, you deserve to sleep safely for at least a few days. Ethan didn't know how to process so much kindness. Why? Why are you so nice to me? Thomas sat on the edge of the bed. Because when I first saw you, I saw hope. I saw a possibility of getting my son back. But I also saw a boy alone, hungry, cold. And even if you're not Ethan Whitmore, you're still a child who deserves to be cared for. Tears began to roll down Ethan's face. No one ever talked to me like that. Since Martha died. Martha loved you? More than anything, Ethan sobbed. She worked 3 jobs to give me food. Never complained. Always smiled. And when she got sick, she apologized for leaving me quafgay. Apologized. As if it was her fault. Thomas slowly approached and, for the first time, touched Ethan. A gentle hand on his shoulder. She sounds like she was an amazing woman. She was gone. And I miss her so much. Ethan broke down. Al Goji. 10 years of pain, Elaka. 2 years of loneliness, everything coming out at once. And Thomas, without thinking, hugged him. Ethan stiffened at first. He wasn't used to touch, caught her, but then, slowly, he relaxed, caught her, and cried Huan. He cried for Martha Cotter. For his biological mother, he never knew died. For all the cold nights, for all the hunger, for all the loneliness, so the Cora Hunbrus, Thomas held the boy and cried too, so the Cora Hunbrus, for Farah Muckles, for baby Ethan, saw Lewis, for the 10 lost years, Makalamuna, for the possibility of having him back. They stayed like that for long minutes, Two strangers, for Lockles, or maybe not so strange after all, for Lockles, Makul Hashol Dabi. When they finally separated, both had red eyes, but something had changed. An invisible barrier had fallen. Sorry, Ethan said, wiping his face. I don't usually cry like this. You don't need to apologize. Crying isn't weakness. Martha used to say that too. Thomas smiled. Height. She was right. Height us. Someone knocked on the door. Thomas opened it and found Jessica on the other side, holding shopping bags. Hi, Dad. I brought clothes. Then she saw Ethan. Marie. Hi. You must be Ethan. Marisol woman in her 20s. Marisol woman in her 20s. Marisol woman in her 20s. Marisol woman Tommen. Marisol woman, Thomas's daughter. And possibly your half-sister. Half-sister, Ethan repeated. Processing. Jessica entered, putting the bags on the bed. I brought clothes in various sizes because I didn't know yours. Pants, shirts, jacket, sneakers. Gia. All new, Gia. Ethan looked at the bags as if they were treasures. Gia. Why? You don't even know me. True. But if there's a chance you're my brother, I want to start off right. And even if you're not, Jessica shrugged. Everyone deserves clean clothes. Your family is very strange, Ethan said, but he was smiling. You have no idea, Jessica laughed. Thomas watched the interaction with his heart tight with emotion. Ethan, he said, I'm going to let you get settled. Take a shower, rest, change clothes. I'll be back at noon for us to have lunch, viz. Okay? Anches. Okay, Ethan replied, Anches. And Thomas, it was the first time he called him by name. This, yes, these, them agays, for everything. You don't need to thank me. Thomas and Jessica left, leaving Ethan alone in the hotel room. In the hallway, Jessica held her father's arm. He's just like you described. Sarah's eyes. Baby Ethan's mannerisms. Suri tua. I know, Kalasha fatua. Dad, what if the test is negative? How will you deal with it? Thomas looked at the closed door. I'll be devastated, but at least I tried. At least I won't spend the rest of my life wondering, what if... Jessica hugged her father. I'm proud of you. Of the man you're becoming again. Inside the room, Ethan took off his dirty clothes and got in the shower. The hot water fell over him. For the first time in months. Really hot water, not lukewarm from a shelter. He washed his hair 3 times, hillhawks, scrubbed his skin until it was red, watched weeks of dirt wash down the drain. When he got out, he looked at himself in the fogged mirror. He didn't recognize the boy he saw there. Clean, shiny hair, clear skin visible under the dirt that had hidden his true appearance. He put on new clothes. Jeans that fit perfectly, soft t-shirt, sneakers that didn't have holes. He sat on the bed and turned on the TV, flipped through channels without paying attention. His mind was elsewhere. On a man with blue eyes. On the kind woman with shopping bags. On the impossible possibility. What if it's true? What if I really have a family? He took out Martha's letter that he always carried. If someday someone comes looking for you, don't ignore them. I'm not ignoring them, Martha, he whispered. I'm trying to believe. I'm trying to have hope. And for the first time in 2 years, hope didn't seem like such a scary word. At noon, Thomas returned to the hotel. He knocked on the room door. When Ethan opened it, Thomas almost didn't recognize him. The boy was clean, cum-hairing, hair washed and combed, new clothes. He looked years younger, healthier, and his brown eyes shone with a light that wasn't there before. You look different, Thomas said. A hot shower works miracles, Ethan replied with a half smile. I brought someone. Thomas pointed to the hallway. A girl about 12 years old appeared, thin, dirty, with tangled blonde hair and torn clothes. But her green eyes had a sharp intelligence. Lily, Ethan smiled for real. You came. You said there'd be real food. Of course I came. But she looked at Thomas with suspicion. Who's he? It's complicated, Ethan said. But he's cool, I promise. Thomas extended his hand. Thomas Whitmore. Nice to meet you, Lily. Lily shook his hand firmly, studying him. You're rich. I can tell him. That's true. And you're helping Ethan. Why? Nobody helps for free. Lily, Ethan protested. What? She's right to ask, Thomas said. I'm helping because I believe Ethan might be my son. We're waiting for DNA test results. Lily looked between the two of them. Kente Karawade. Seriously? Like in a movie? Jock in real life, Thomas replied. And while we wait, we're having lunch. You guys choose the place. Any place? Lily asked, her eyes sparkling. Maismanas. Any das? Olive Garden? He said immediately. I've always wanted to eat there. I walk past it every day, and the smell... Olive Garden it is, Thomas smiled. The restaurant was packed. Families celebrating. Couples dating. And one strange table in the corner. A billionaire. 2 street kids. One now clean. And an impossible possibility hanging over everyone. Lily ordered everything. Literally. Appetizer, main course, dessert. Are you going to be able to eat all that? Thomas asked, amused. I'll try, she said, already attacking the garlic bread. Ethan ate more slowly, savoring each bite. I forgot how good hot food was, he admitted. Thomas watched them both with his heart tight. How many children were on the streets right now, hungry, cold, forgotten? Lily, he asked, how long have you been on the street? Beginoi, 3 years. Shibegina, Kamhan Thade was 9. And your family? Her face closed off. I don't have family, Bill. Dad beat me nubble. Mom drank shuras. One day I decided the street was safer. I'm sorry. Don't be see us. I survived. That's what matters. Then she looked at Ethan. Mama Lee, he saved me, you know? Mama Lee, they'ved. Mama leaned in. Mama Lee, 6 months ago some guys tried to hurt me. Ethan showed up yelling that he'd call the police. They ran. Ite. Ever since then, we look out for each other. Thomas looked at Ethan, who was red with embarrassment. It was nothing, he murmured. It was too, Lily insisted. You always share food with me. Always warn me when some place is dangerous. You're my best friend. You seem to have a good heart, Ethan, Thomas said gently. Martha taught me. She said that even when we have nothing, we can still help others. She was right. The food arrived and they ate in silence for a few minutes. Then, Lily spoke. What if the test is positive? What happens to Ethan? The question made everyone tense. He comes to live with me, Thomas said, but has his own room, kij. Goes to school. Nakyung Sogom. Has everything a child should have, and me? Lily asked quietly. I go back to the street alone? Thomas hadn't thought about that. Lily. Forget it, she said, quickly wiping a tear. I understand. Everyone takes care of their own. That's how it works. Ethan held her hand. If I go live with Thomas, I'll help you wipe on a promise. I'll find a way to get you off the street too. You can't promise that. But I am promising. Thomas watched the loyalty between the two and made a decision. Lily, you can also stay at the hotel. For a week. Same conditions as Ethan. Kamike. She widened her eyes. Really? Really, say. And we'll look for a safe place for you. Decent shelter, foster family, something. Curry. Why would you do this for me? I'm not your lost daughter. No. But you're a friend of someone who might be my son. And that's enough. Lily started crying. Not silent tears, but loud sobs that made people look. Ethan hugged her. It's okay, Lily. It's okay. Nothing ever turns out okay, she cried. Why would it now? Because sometimes, Thomas said, extending a napkin, good people show up gui. Not always gui. But sometimes gui. Lily wiped her face, trying to regain her composure. Sorry. I don't usually cry in front of others. You're among friends, Thomas said. Listic dales, you can cry as much as you want. Lunch continued, now with a lighter mood. Lily told funny stories from the street. Ethan laughed for real for the first time. And Thomas felt something he hadn't felt in 10 years. He felt like part of a family. When they finished, Thomas paid the bill and they left. I'll reserve another room for you, Lily, he said, Poro. And tomorrow we'll take you to buy clothes too. I don't know how to thank you, she said. Mian, you don't need to, Wabni. Mian, just, Ivril. Take care of each other. Rele. Keep being friends. Ivile. Always, Ethan and Lily said together. That night, Ethan was lying in the hotel bed, looking at the ceiling. The phone Thomas had given him rang. It was a message. Thomas, is everything okay there? Ethan typed slowly. Ethan, yes. Thank you for today. Thomas, it was my pleasure. I enjoyed getting to know you better. Ethan, can I ask you something? Thomas, anything. Ethan, if the test is positive, do you really want me? Or is it just because I'm your son biologically? On the other side of the city, Thomas looked at the message with tears in his eyes. Thomas, Ethan, even if the test is negative, I already care about you. These last few days have shown me the brave, kind, and strong boy you are. But if it's positive, it's not just because you're my son biologically. It's because you are my son. In every way possible. Ethan read the message 3 times. Ethan, I'm scared. Thomas, of what? Ethan, of believing. Of creating hope, and then losing everything again. Thomas, I'm scared too, but I think it's worth the risk. Ethan, why? Thomas, because some miracles are too real to ignore. Ethan put away his phone and hugged the pillow. On the other side of the wall, in the next room, Lily was also awake. For the first time in 3 years, she was sleeping in a real bed, bacha, with a full stomach, bacha. Safe, bacha. And she had hope. 2 children, Vasaraya Huadai. 1 man at a time, united by impossible circumstances. And tomorrow, in just a few hours, they would know the truth. If Ethan Miller was really Ethan Whitmore, if the street boy was the lost heir, if the miracle was real, Thomas didn't sleep that night. He stayed awake looking at old photos of Sarah and baby Ethan, mentally comparing them to the face of the boy he had met. The eyes real, identical. The smile hues, just like Sarah's Bediman. The scar fox, impossible to be a coincidence. Please, he whispered Fediman, please let it be him, please, give me back my son. And somewhere in heaven, or in the universe, or wherever souls go, Sarah was smiling, because she knew. She knew her baby had survived. She knew her love had found a way, and she knew that tomorrow, finally, her family would be reunited again. 8 a.m. Thomas's phone rang. Nectar. Harrison. Thomas answered with trembling hands. Hello. Thomas. The doctor's voice was serious. Vidali. I have the results. Come the results. The silence that followed lasted only 3 seconds, but it seemed like an eternity. And Vraki. It's positive. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. Thomas, he's your son. Ethan is your son. Thomas fell to his knees. 10 years of pain, defied, of guilt, of emptiness, and now, are you sure? Very, he asked, his voice breaking. Absolutely? Completely. We tested twice to make sure. There's no doubt. The boy is Ethan Whitmore. Thomas broke down in sobs, tears he had been holding for days, months, years. Thank you, he managed to say freshly. Thank you, Harrison. Congratulations, Thomas. This race. Your son came home. Thomas hung up and stayed there, on the living room floor, crying like he hadn't cried since the funeral. But now they were tears of joy. His son was alive. His son was alive. His son was alive. 20 minutes later, Thomas was knocking on Ethan's hotel room door. The boy opened it, still in pajamas. Lily was behind him, curious. Nair. Thomas? Ethan asked. So early? Thomas couldn't speak, still in Dick. He just cried. What's wrong? Ethan got scared. Nair. Did the results come out? Thomas nodded. And you, Thomas managed to say. You're my son. It's you. It's really you, we. Time stopped. Ethan went white. His legs weakened. Lily had to hold him, dry. What? Ethan froze, he whispered. 99.9% certainty. The test confirmed it. You're Ethan Whitmore. My son, Biadud. My boy that I lost 10 years ago. No, Ethan shook his head. This can't This can't be real. It's real, Thomas took a step forward. It's real, Ethan. You're alive. You survived. And I found you. Ethan started hyperventilating. I have a father. I have a real father. I'm not alone. You're not. Thomas held the boy's shoulders. You'll never be again. And Ethan collapsed into Thomas's arms, father and son. Separated by tragedy, reunited by a miracle, they hugged there, at the hotel room door, while Lily watched crying. Caller. My son, Thomas repeated, Boyer. My son, my son, my son. Dad, Ethan said for the first time. Watched us. Dad, watched us, the word he had never used, Joan. The word he had always wished to say, 10. Joan. Dad, Joan. An hour later, they were in Thomas's apartment. Ethan looked around with wide eyes. The place was huge. 3 floors. Thoan. Panoramic view of Manhattan. Ewan. Everything luxurious. Lotsy. All this is yours? Zahn, he asked. Ours, Thomas corrected. This is ours now." Jessica came running from the kitchen. "See, Owen. Is it true? The test was positive?" "See, Owen. It was." Thomas smiled through his tears. "Ethan is your brother." Jessica screamed with joy and hugged Ethan tightly. "I have a little brother. I finally have a little brother." "Sister?" Ethan repeated, still processing. "I have a sister. The best sister in the world," Jessica said. "I'll teach you everything. I'll protect you. Jess, let him breathe," Thomas laughed. But Ethan was smiling. A genuine, big smile that lit up his entire face. "Come," Thomas said. "I want to show you something. Come." He took Ethan to the 3rd floor. He opened a door that had been locked for 10 years. It was a baby's room. B. Crib. B. Colorful mobiles. B. Shelves with toys. B. Everything preserved exactly as it was. "This was your room," Thomas said, his voice choked. "When you were a baby. I couldn't undo it. I couldn't accept that you were gone." Ethan walked slowly, touching everything. The crib where he had slept. The toys he never knew. "You kept me," he whispered. "Even thinking I was dead, you kept me. I always kept you, Stuart Sadis. In the room. In my heart. In every thought. My hawk. Avex." Ethan turned, tears streaming. "My hawk kept. I dreamed about you. Didn't know who it was, but I dreamed of a man holding me, making me feel safe. It was you. It was always you." Thomas hugged his son again. "We'll make new rooms, Krauf. New dreams, Krauf. We'll make up for the 10 lost years." "We can't make them up," Ethan said honestly. "But we can start over. Then, let's start," Thomas agreed. "Neke, Makwaf. Today, then, now. You quaff." The following days were a whirlwind. First, documents. Lawyers worked day and night to restore Ethan's legal identity. Original birth certificate. True name, Nen. True family, Nen, 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 Nen. Doctors, Nen. Complete checkup, Nen. Delayed vaccinations, dental treatment, years of medical neglect being corrected. Nen, Nen, Madal de la School. Thomas enrolled Ethan in one of the best private schools in New York, private tutors to help him catch up on his educational delay. And throughout all of this, they learned each other. Thomas discovered that Ethan was incredibly intelligent. He had learned to read by himself from discarded books. He knew basic math from watching adults count money. He was curious, questioning, brilliant. Ethan discovered that Thomas, despite the money, was kind. Question. Tai drunt, question bias. Never forced anything. Question by drun, respected his boundaries, and loved with an intensity that scared and comforted at the same time. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said one night during dinner. Always. Are you angry at Martha?" "For taking me," Thomas thought carefully. "No. Martha saved you, gave you love, raised you well, in time. Without her, you'd be dead. I'm grateful to her. Even though she kept you away from me? Asan, she was scared. Asan Basan he well, she was an illegal immigrant. She had no resources. She did what she thought was right with what she had. I can't blame her for loving you." Ethan smiled. "You're a good person. I'm trying to be home. For you, thee Sabi. For myself." Jessica joined them. "B. Dad, we need to solve something." "What?" "Marco, Lily. She's still at the hotel." "But the weekend's tomorrow." Thomas looked at Ethan, who immediately straightened up. "Dad, I know you've already done so much, but Lily, she's my friend. My only friend during the worst times. I can't let her go back to the street." "I know," Thomas said. "I'm already taking care of it." "Really, Nakra guy? I talked to a foster family. The Morrisons, Nakra guy. Good people, hi. Experienced, I know. They agreed to take Lily. Temporarily at first, but if it works out, permanent adoption." Ethan stood up and hugged Thomas. "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. She's important to you. So she's important to me." The next day they took Lily to meet the Morrisons. She was terrified. "What if they don't like me?" "So way," she asked in the car. "They will," Ethan held her hand. "So way, you're amazing Forkelt. I'm difficult. I have nightmares. I don't trust easily." "They know that," Thomas said. "And they still want to meet you." The Morrisons were a couple in their 50s. Black, warm. They had fostered 15 children over the years. "Lily," Mrs. Morrison knelt down. "It's lovely to meet you, dear." Lily was tense, but something in the woman's voice made her relax. "You don't have to decide anything now, mister," Morrison said. "How about coming to dinner with us today? Get to know the house. See if you feel comfortable. And if I don't, then we'll look for another family. No pressure. No pressure." Lily looked at Ethan, who nodded encouragingly. "Okay," she said mupurging olo. "I'll try." When they left the Morrisons' Kunek house, Ethan was beaming quolo. "She's gonna be okay, right?" "Kunek no. She will," Thomas confirmed Verlo. "They're good people." "Like you?" Thomas smiled. "I'm trying to be Munt Duck." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He was in his new room. Thomas had given him the larger guest room, with a view of Central Park. He got up and went to Thomas's room. He knocked softly. "Come in," Thomas called. Ethan opened the door. Thomas was sitting on the bed, reading Augurum. "Everything okay, son? Everything okay, son? Vat Karamat. Can I sleep here?" "Just tonight. I'm still not used to sleeping alone in an enclosed place." Thomas pulled back the covers. "Come." Ethan lay down next to his father, like he hadn't done since he was a baby. Thomas covered him carefully. "Better? Better. Better." They were silent for a moment. Then Ethan whispered, "Dad? Yes? I love you." Thomas felt his heart explode. "I love you too, son. More than words can say, Hizadi." And for the first time in 10 years, they both slept in peace. Complete. I love you, Asuaf. Home few Asuaf. Family, where they always should have been. 3 months passed. Ethan was adapting to his new life, but not without difficulties. School was a challenge. Years of lost education meant he was behind. Advanced math, literature, history. Everything was new and scary, but he worked hard, studied late, did all his homework, determined to prove he deserved to be there. His classmates, however, didn't make it easy. "Hey, street kid," a boy named Brandon mocked in the hallway. "Must be nice living as a charity case, huh? Living off daddy's money." Ethan clenched his fists but didn't respond. Thomas had taught him not to react to provocations. "I bet you don't even know who your real father is," another boy laughed. "His mom probably found you in the trash and he took pity on you." That went too far. Ethan turned, his eyes blazing. "Don't talk about my family." "Or what? You gonna run to Rich Daddy and complain?" "No," Ethan said calmly. "I'm going to ignore you, because you're not worth my time." And he turned his back, walking away while Brandon shouted insults. But the words hurt. At night, during dinner, Thomas noticed something was wrong. Son, did something happen at school? Nothing, Ethan lied, pushing his food around. Hi. Jessica leaned in. Ethan, you can tell us anything. Desosovlae, I know, but he didn't tell Levi. The following week, Thomas received a call from the school. Mr. Whitmore, there was an incident involving Ethan. Thomas's heart froze. What kind of incident? Nitel Levi, a fight. Ethan hit another student. Thomas couldn't believe it. Ethan, my son? Are you sure? Completely doze. We need you to come to the school immediately. Thomas arrived in 20 minutes. He found Ethan sitting outside the principal's office, a cut on his lip, his clothes dirty. Ethan! Thomas knelt in front of him. As. What happened? Ethan lowered his eyes. He talked about my mother, though our code me abode. About Sarah. Said she must have been a whore to die and abandon me. Thomas felt rage boil, but controlled himself. And you hit him? What? I did, Ethan said without regret. And I'd do it again. The principal called them inside. Bingeran. Mr. Whitmore, we have a zero-tolerance policy for violence. I understand, Lab. But what did the other boy say? Exees, Brandon admitted he provoked Ethan. But that doesn't justify physical violence. I agree, Thomas said. And what will the punishment be? You'll stay, duck, source. 3-day suspension for both, lied. Ethan tensed, duck. 3 days of suspension, lib. Thomas was going to be disappointed. He was going to realize that adopting a street kid was a mistake. But Thomas simply nodded. Crane, I understand. Thank you, Principal Thur. They left the school in silence. In the car, Ethan waited for the lecture. But it didn't come. Thomas drove in silence for 15 minutes. Then he stopped the car at a lookout with a view of the city. Dad? Ethan asked nervously. Thomas turned to him. Do you think you did the right thing? Why, I don't know. Probably not. But he talked about my mother. I couldn't. I understand, Thomas interrupted. If someone talked about Sarah like that in front of me, I'd react too. But Ethan, you need to learn something important. What? Nubba? That people are going to talk. They're going to judge. They're going to try to put you down. And if you always react with violence, they win. Because they turn you into something you're not. Ethan wiped away a tear. They say I don't deserve to be there. That you only took me out of pity. And do you believe that? Sometimes, Ethan admitted. Sometimes I look at my life and it seems like a dream. And dreams end. Azah. And I'm afraid of waking up and you realizing you made a mistake. Thomas held his son's face with both hands. Look at me. Look at me. Ethan looked into his father's blue eyes. You're my son. Not out of pity. Not out of obligation. But because you are my son. Marali dacha bi for jamul. By blood, buruch. By heart. Marali. By soul, marali. And nothing anyone says will change that shaka. Understand? Merali, but what if I'm not good enough? What if I can never catch up to the other boys? What if I... You're already good enough, Thomas shouted, tears streaming. You survived a fire. You survived Martha's death. You survived 2 years on the streets. You're the strongest, bravest, most incredible boy I know. And if those rich kids don't see that, the problem is theirs, not yours. Ethan broke down in sobs. I'm so scared, Dad. Scared of losing everything again. Scared of not being worthy. Scared of disappointing you. You'll never disappoint me, Thomas pulled him into a hug. Never, a sevre faire. Did you hear me? Never, even when I mess everything up? Everything up? Even when you mess everything up? Because that's what family does. Wix makes mistakes. Wix quod geel. Learns may seal. Grows bice. Together hell is. They stayed like that for long minutes. Father consoling son. son finally believing he wasn't alone. When they separated, Thomas wiped his face. Now, about the suspension. Rose Bice, I know. I'm gonna be grounded. Rose Bice, no. You're coming to work with me. What? I have. 3 days. I have my office. I want you to see what I do. I want to teach you about business. About how to turn pain into purpose. Why? Because you have something most of those rich kids will never have. You have perspective. You know both sides of life. And that, my son, is a rare gift. The 3 days in the office changed Ethan. He saw Thomas in meetings, nachodachel, saw how he treated employees with respect, how he did business with integrity. On the 3rd day, Thomas took him to a special meeting. I'm launching a foundation, Thomas announced to a room full of executives. It will be called the Sarah and Ethan Whitmore Foundation. The goal is to get children off the streets, provide shelter, education, opportunities. Everyone applauded, but Ethan was in shock. After the meeting, Thomas took him aside. Ganner, you put my name on it? And Mom's? Ganner, I did. Ganner. Because this foundation exists because of you. Sarah taught me compassion. You reminded me of it, Sash. Together, we're going to change lives. But I'm just a kid. What can I do? What can I do? You can tell your story. You can be proof that miracles happen. You can give hope to other boys like you. Ein bees. Ethan thought for a moment. There's one condition. Buys. What? Pot highs. Lily. She needs to be involved too. She understands what it's like to live on the street. She can help. Thomas smiled with pride. We already thought of that. She already said yes. 2 weeks later, Ethan returned to school. Brandon was waiting for him in the hallway. Look who's back. The problem child. Ethan took a deep breath, remembering his father's words. Brandon, I know you have your reasons for hating me. And that's okay. But I'm not going to fight you again. Because my father taught me that unhappy people try to make others unhappy. And I hope you find your happiness someday. And he walked away, leaving Brandon speechless. At night, during dinner, Thomas asked, How was the return? Difficult. But good. I didn't fight with anyone. Proud of you. Jessica came in with an envelope. This came for you, Ethan. It was from Lily. Ethan, the Morrisons are going to officially adopt me. I can't believe I'm finally going to have a real family. And it's all thanks to you and your dad. The foundation is amazing. It's already helped 5 children get off the streets. We're changing the world. Thank you for never giving up on me. Your friend forever, Lily Morrison. Ethan showed the letter to Thomas, his eyes shining. We did this, Dad. We saved her. We did, Thomas corrected. We save her. Because that's what family is, helping each other forever. Lifting each other up, Russ. Ethan hugged his father tightly. I love you so much. I love you too, son. More than you'll ever know. And in that moment, looking at Lily's letter, at Jessica's smile, at the love in Thomas's eyes, Ethan finally believed. He believed he deserved to be happy, that he deserved to be loved, that miracles were real, Fashafi, and that he was finally home, Bowood. 1 year later, Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year since Thomas had first found Ethan. The Tribeca penthouse was decorated for the party. Christmas lights everywhere, a huge tree with presents underneath, La Hizariti, a table full of food, but it wasn't an ordinary party. Thomas had invited all the children the Sarah and Ethan Whitmore Foundation had helped in the past year. 23 children who had been taken off the streets, all with families now, all with a future. Lily arrived with the Morrisons, radiant in a new dress. Ethan, as she ran to hug him. Lily, how are you? Amazing. The Morrisons are the best. And guess what? I'm taking ballet classes. Ballet? Really? Ballet? I know, right? I never thought it would be my thing. But it's beautiful. Jessica joined them. "The family's growing," she said, hugging Lily too. Thomas watched from afar, his heart overflowing. Saverfite. A year ago he was completely alone. These Akison. Cold ye say. Empty. Rich in money, but miserable in everything that mattered. Now he had his son back. He had reconnected with Jessica. Doxy. He had purpose. He had love. Cousin. Doctor. Harrison approached. "Thomas, I have to say, Hevel, he said Rustine, Hevel he say, Popos Kelly, Hevel he said Rustine, Mewport a year ago, it's like seeing a man reborn. Hevel, I was reborn," Thomas said simply. "Hevel, the day I found my son." Rosa, the woman from the Grand Central coffee shop, was also there. Thomas had invited her personally. "Hevel, Mr. Bop, Whitmore," she said emotionally, "thank you for including me. You were part of the story, Rosa. If you hadn't told Ethan I was there that day, none of this would have happened. God works in mysterious ways," she smiled. When everyone was gathered, Thomas asked for attention. "I want to thank everyone for coming today. This day, exactly 1 year ago, changed my life. I found my son, who I thought was dead. And since then, everything has changed." He looked at Ethan, who was beside him. "My son taught me that money means nothing without love, that status is worth nothing without purpose, that success isn't measured in millions, but in lives touched." Tears began to fall down Thomas's face. "That's why I created the foundation, not to clear my conscience, but because every child deserves what Ethan deserved and didn't have for 10 years. A family. Limit Butsari Trices and self Asafai Daja Bini. A home pointway. Love." Everyone applauded. "And I want to announce something today," Thomas continued. "I'm donating 50% of my fortune to the foundation. More than $1 billion. So that no child in New York needs to sleep on the street again." The silence was absolute, Cora. Then applause exploded. Jessica hugged her father, crying, "Dad, this is amazing." "It's the right thing," Thomas said. "It's what Sarah would have wanted. It's what Ethan deserves." Ethan, however, was quiet, processing. Later, when the party was in full swing, Thomas found Ethan alone on the balcony, looking at the city. "Son? Everything okay?" I was thinking," Ethan said. "A year ago, I was alone, cold, hungry, without hope. And today," he looked back at the party, "today I have all of this." "You deserve it, Ethan. But what about the other children, the ones who won't have this miracle, the ones who will die on the street with no one caring?" Thomas put his hand on his son's shoulder. "That's why the foundation exists. Oka, we can't save everyone, but we can try." "I want to help more," Ethan said determinedly. "I want to work at the foundation, talk to the children, show them it's possible. But, you're 11 years old, son. But, Lily is 12 and already gives talks at shelters. I can do more." Thomas looked at this boy, his son, and saw not just the child he had lost, but the incredible man he was becoming. "Okay, we'll work together, father and son, changing the world one child at a time." Ethan hugged Thomas, Nukken, Bulaken Hukken. "Thank you, Dad, Nukken, for finding me son, for not giving up Kasson, for giving me a chance." "No, Ethan," Thomas said, his voice choked. "Thank you, Dusil, for saving me, because you didn't just survive that fire, you saved me from the fire that was consuming me inside, the anger, you Dusil, the pain, Commisor Sorsilisol, the loneliness, Gorsilis, you put all of that out." They stayed embraced, looking at the lights of Manhattan. "Gorsil, Dad," Ethan said after a moment. "Yes? Do you think Mom Sarah is watching us?" Thomas looked at the starry sky. "I think so. And I think she's smiling. I wish I had known her. Milimanti was." "You did," Thomas said, "in the first 6 months of your life. And she loved you, with every fiber of her being sheaf. So much that she gave her life to protect you from that fire. I'll honor her, Ethan promised. I'll live a life that makes her proud. You already do, son. You already do. Years later. The years passed. Ethan was 16 years old now. Tall, confident, brilliant. He was on stage in a packed auditorium, giving a speech to 500 people. "My name is Ethan Whitmore," he said into the microphone, "and a few years ago I lived on the streets of New York. I slept in the cold, thus. I went hungry, I had no one." The audience was in complete silence. Then, on a Christmas Eve, I met a man. A rich man I asked to clean his car in exchange for food. He despised me. He treated me like trash. Ethan made a dramatic pause. But then I showed him a scar from a fire when I was a baby. And that man realized I was the son he thought he had lost years ago. Tears began to appear on faces in the audience. Today, the Sarah and Ethan Whitmore Foundation has already taken more than 1,000 children off the streets, has already created 12 shelters in 6 states, has already reunited 23 families who were separated by tragedies. Ethan looked at Thomas, who was in the front row next to Jessica. And all of this because a father didn't give up, because a miracle happened, because God, or fate, or the universe, call it whatever you want, decided to give a second chance. Applause echoed. "So I say to you," Ethan continued, "if you're going through hard times, if you think there's no hope, if you feel like you're alone, don't give up. Because miracles happen. Not always, livin'. Not for everyone, livin'. But they happen. Livin' going coy. And you could be next. Livin'." The audience rose in ovation. Thomas cried with pride. Livin' going cried. His son, live, livin'. Mahkoi, livin'. Not just alive, koi, but brilliant, transforming pain into purpose, saving others as he was saved. After the speech, on the way home, Ethan said, "Dad, thank you. Aishi Calais." "For what?" "For everything. Aishi Calais. For finding me. For loving me, our face. For teaching me that scars don't define us. Our face I. They strengthen us. Our face I." Thomas held his son's hand. "No, Ethan, our face I, Kalabel. No, Ethan, men. Thank you. We face. For showing me it's never too late. That love always finds a way, nowhere show. That miracles are real. Our chai. And they drove home under the snow that was beginning to fall. Tel hasho, hasho. Father and son, kal yokafana machle. Chal yokafana machle. Father and son, infertol likul sachale. No sachale, separated by tragedy, reunited by a miracle, and united forever by the strongest love in the universe, nachle, the love of a family, nachle, achale, achale hiko, achale husaf ho, achale ho, nachle husaf ho, the love of a family, nachle saf ho hal, achale fusaf ho, achale hiko. What did you think of this story? Did this story move you? What part touched your heart the most? Was it when father and son reunited? When Ethan finally called Thomas, Dad? Or when they discovered the miracle was real? Leave your comment down below telling us, what was the moment that moved you the most? What city or country are you watching from? Do you believe in Christmas miracles? And don't forget, leave a like if the story touched you. Subscribe to the channel for more moving stories. Share it with someone who needs to believe in miracles. And if you're going through a difficult time, remember, it's never too late to start over. Never give up hope, and never stop believing that miracles are real.